Hello, this is part number 8 of our series of tutorial making your first phaser game. I'm following a phaser tutorial from the phaser website, an official phaser tutorial of the same name. This is a tutorial made by Richard J.B., the author of Phaser. In this chapter 8, we are going to add the stars to the game. We're going to add the stars and the player will be jumping around and taking the stars. You will collecting the stars, this player. Now, how we do that here in the phaser tutorial. Remember, phaser does. Here in the tutorial, you can find a way. It has a way to make the things, but in the editor, we use a different way for making things, and it is what I want to show you, how you can learn with phaser, how you can learn phaser with the phaser tutorials, but at the same time, how you can do that in Phaser Editor 2D using Visual Tools. So let's start here in the Phaser website, in the Phaser tutorial. For creating the stars, it makes a group, a physics group, with this special configuration. This configuration says that I will start the group with physics images, with the key star, and it will create 11 objects, and it will set the first object at this position in 12 in 12 and 0, but it will add the next stars, the next objects, with a step of 70 pixels. That's the way to create the stars, and later what it does is to iterate for every star and set a random bouncing here, a random bounce to the star from dot 4 to dot 8. How we do that with the editor? We have the editor here, the game running here. We have Visual Studio Code here with the Webpack development server running here. So how we make that with the editor? First, I will add a star image to the scene as is usual here in the editor, and I suggest you to do that always is to create a prefab with your important objects here. If you have an object with certain behavior, you create a prefab. I will create a prefab, a star prefab. We have it here, the star prefab. Let's compile, forgetting the source code of the prefab. I will say the star will be, I don't know if I said that, it's an open image, but I want to make the prefab or replace the type of arcade image because I want it to have a body. It is an arcade image. We have the star here, but now I want to place all the stars in a layer. Instead of a group, I will add it in a layer. I want the game to be layered game. A layer for platforms, a layer for the stars, a layer for the background maybe. So let's add here 11 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think there are 11 there. Yes, 11. All the stars. I did not add it to the okay. Let's add the stars to an stars layer. Stars layer. We have here the layer in the front, in the foreground of the game. I want to do some layout here to organize this better of the stars. I have here in these tools here. In these tools, I have ways to change the layout, to apply some layout to the selected objects. I want to layout it like a row. I had this value here. I think that's the value I was testing. It was good. Yes. as a padding of the rows of the objects in a row. I think that's okay for the stars. If you look this in code, it is making here, it makes the stars layer, the stars layers, and add an instance of the star to the layer, adding the 11 instances there. So we have here the game running. The stars are falling down because now what is what I need? First, I want to the stars. First, let's follow the tutorial. Here in the tutorial, after creating the stars, it creates a random bouncing value for each stars. What we are going to do here, because we have a prefab of the stars, what I'm going to do is to add that value here in the prefab. I will say we have the star prefab here, the class. I will write here in the constructor. In this part of the constructor, remember, I will write the code, the user code. You have to write it between these special comments. Between here, write your code here in the constructor. I will say, set the bounds between 0 4. We are going to look. It doesn't have an effect now because the stars are not colliding with the platform, so we need to add a collider to the platforms. It is what we look here in the tutorial. Here it explains what he did here, and after that we add a collider of the stars with the platforms, and we do that in the editor. We have the collider object here. Later, add a collider, the stars, platforms, collider. I will say object one will be the stars layer. Remember, Phaser doesn't allow to use a layer as an object in a collider, but you can use the list of the layer. The list returns is a property with an array of the objects of the layer. We do the same here with the platforms list. We have the collider now set here. Okay, now the stars are colliding with the platforms, and it has a random bouncing of the stars, as we said that in the prefab. That's it. Now, what is next in the tutorial is that first, I want to do something first. I have this collider here. I want this collider. Let me use another name. It is about the player and the platforms. Player, platforms, collider. Okay, I like to have the good names here. So I continue with the tutorial. Here, what is missing now is to collect the stars. Look, when I can move the character, but what I need to do now is to collect the stars, and for doing that I will add another collider for getting the stars. Look here in the Phaser website. It will add a collider, an overlap collider, because I will explain that better, with the player and the star, and it has a collider callback, collider star. It is a method that it gets the player and the star who are colliding, and it will disable the body of the star. When the player collides with a star, it will disable the body of the star. It will set it the game object. The star will be inactive and will be hidden. it will hide the star. It is what means these two parameters here. So how we do that in the editor? I add a collider. It will be the player stars collider. I select here the player of add first object and the stars layer list and the second object. Our collide callback will be collect. Look, if I don't add the callback, look what happens here. I can collide with the star. Look, it's moving the stars, but I don't want to move, hey, walking on top of the stars. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is to collect the star. So when I pick the star. Okay, goodbye. Okay, so I want here in the collide callback, I will say to call the collect star method with the context of the scene. That's a method I have to define. Look, is not defined here. So I would define it here. It's a private method. Collect star player prefab. Player prefab. It's a first argument. A star prefab. Come on, star prefab. Second one, and I will say a star disable body of the star. First argument is disable the game object. Yes. Hide the game object. Yes. It is what we are going to do with the star. Here we have an error. TypeScript sometimes look is a hero is not compatible. It's telling this method is not compatible with the callback expected here, but it is just about problematic TypeScript. Probably is something I can look in phaser TypeScript in the phaser types, and maybe I can do a contribution here there. Let's see. The thing is, I will say, let me find the collider player start collider. I will say this method is of type any, and any type is compatible with any type. So it should fix the problem. And now we have the game here. What it does is took it, hey, it is colliding with a star and it disabled the body. Look this, when you jump on the star, the player is just jumping. Look, it happens. I don't want to jump on top of the star because I just want to take the star. To tell the star is not applying any force. I do not want the star to applying any velocity to the player. It is happening because we are using a collider. Let's look here in the code with a collider. The player versus the stars is using a collider, but what we want to do is to use the overlap method. The overlap method is only about to know when the two objects are collisioning, but it doesn't change the bodies of the objects. So I will say only overlap. With only overlap, it generates, look here the code. It now, hey, generates an overlap, just the method overlap method. And here in the game, let's test it. Now it just pick the star. It doesn't bounce it. It only pick the stars. I think it is The whole thing we have to do here. That's the whole thing. But I want to do something more here. I want to do some refactoring here. I want to do some refactoring. First, here in the label, I want to add a method for the star. So I want to make this more clear. I will say star collected. That's a method. I want to apply a method here and do our implementation in the prefab. I want to make, look here, that implementation in the prefab. But remember, collected, I want to say this, disable the body. But remember, I cannot write this here because the compiler will override that. I will write it here in this protected user code here. So I have here, it should work. Okay, I want to do something similar with the player prefab. I want here into date method first. I want to take everything here and say send method in class, update player, some refactoring. I like to do some refactoring. At certain moment, you have to organize your code. And here I will say the player move to the left, player move to the right, like this. Player move left. I will add that claim method. Player move left. We will do. Now the player is this because we are in the prefab, and I want to move that here. So we have this method here, animation left. Oh, sorry, animation left. When you import the constant, it adds here by default. It is Visual Studio Code, but you have to put it here. This import, it's generated by the editor. So, but in this part here, you add your imports that you do manually. You're manually made by hand. Move left and move right. Right is just about this. You move right. Okay. Layer right. And this one is stop moving. This stop moving is when you are not pressing the left of the right key. I do not want the player to stop moving. Stop moving. Another method. Let's import this one. Look, it is importing it here in this user zone. And then later to jump. And here the player, if the up key is down and the player is touching down, I want the player to jump. Let's define here jump. Set velocity. So let's see. We have more things. You know, the thing is you add the method, the features of the player, the functions of the player, the data of the player. You add it to the player prefab. So it makes the code, I think, a bit more clear of what you are making. Let's see if it is working. Oh, this is not working here. Let me see what I did wrong. I think here moving right, I was using animation left. I have to use right, animation right. So that's okay. Now I am done. I think that's all for now for this chapter. Like this video, tell me something in the comments, and follow the channel. See you.